The spoiler game is afoot as the hype machine for Across the Galaxy goes into full swing.
We take a look at some of the recently spoiled cards and discuss cards that destroy deck building rules.
This is episode 107, Breaking All the Rules.
You have been well trained.
No.
You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you. Oh, do not. I'm not afraid. Please don't try.
Well, it's been one heck of a day for Star Wars Destiny out there in the world. Today, specifically today, it's been kind of crazy.
Yeah, it really has been.
Lots of new stuff, lots of news has come out of the world about various different things. Lots of spoilers have happened over the last several days. Some spoilers that we can't wait to talk about. I know the show got started a little bit late tonight. For those of you who are joining us live, we had some serious technical difficulties, which we lost a co-host in the process. Matt's filling in for Kim, who couldn't make it, and Mike is screaming at his computer at the moment, I'm sure. Maybe will join us a little bit later, but Matt, before we jump into the news, because that's really what everybody is talking about right now. I know you got a chance to go to that Texas Galactic Open this last weekend. So how was that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good event actually. I was pretty impressed by the undertaking. Yeah, I had a good time. I just played Kylo Price because it was familiar and already assembled. And I made it to the top 8 cut before just playing badly. But anyway, the event was good. It was won by an E-Snoke Talzin Sienna deck, which was pretty interesting. Interesting take on a vehicle deck. I don't think I'd seen Talzin in that mix before, but maybe I just missed that. And the second place player played E-Luke E-Yoda, which was pretty gross. It was pretty annoying, actually. I lost to him in Swiss. He played very well.
I'm assuming new Luke.
Yeah, new Luke.
Crazy. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think we often see Yoda used outside of a special chaining type situation.
So, yeah, and he had some specials in there to chain Yoda into. So he had a couple of oh no, it escapes me, the light bow. He had a couple of light bows, and he had Obi Saber, which is actually why I lost to him in Swiss. Mm-hmm. If it were not for Obi Saber, I would have, I think, pretty soundly beat him. But Obi Saber was brutal on Yoda because Yoda would just stack shields, so I couldn't get any damage through, and then just 3 unblockable at a time. So over the course of a few rounds, he just whittled me down. It was very annoying.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So the event overall went well. It was well attended. It was well run.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, we had 14 people in the Destiny event,
Okay.
And there had been more people signed up than that. So I mean, it was smallish for sure, but it attracted people from all over the state, which is nice. So we had players from San Antonio, a few of us, but then from Austin and Houston and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I think next year he's going to have a lot more time to plan it, and he's trying to make it much larger. So I'll be interested to see the type of attendance that it gets next year.
Gotcha. Very cool. Well, it's always good to see. I know, as we talked last week in the show, these types of fan-run events, trying to get the word out there on some these events that can help fill in this gap between the Sword Champ and the regional season and all the the various kind of milestones that FFG OP puts in play, and with the timing of the sets as well. It's been an oddly quiet era, so it's been nice that you had a chance to go to something that was moderately competitive and
yeah. No, it was good. There were definitely some competitive players from the state there. It was a good solid event. With some of the state's more competitive players, actually. So it was kind of nice to get back into that because, like you said, there's been a huge lull in competitive events. Everything I've been doing is casual for a long time. So
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else exciting going on you want to share before we jump into the news?
I think that's about it. We're getting ready to start up another league at our weekly night. But other than that, just kind of waiting for Across the Galaxy to drop, and I know those are the spoilers we want to get into. So
For sure. So let's go ahead and jump in to the news for the week.
Let me take that back, huh? You'll find what you need.
All right, so it is. There's a lot. There's a lot going on in the world of Star Wars Destiny. I don't know if anybody's been keeping track of of all the various and sundry things that have been happening this week. However, I guess one of the big things recently is that Cascade Games has been releasing some information about some of their upcoming Star Wars Destiny and Fantasy Flight Games premiere events across the country. I know everybody's looking towards PAX Unplugged as the next big kind of indicator of things. And even though it's just going to be a standard Galactic qualifier, now we know that Across the Galaxy is going to be legal at that event. So it's going to be a US's first take at what this meta could shake up to be.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also added dates in Phoenix, Toronto. They're going to Adepticon in Chicago, heading to Denver, Atlanta, and ETX in Seattle. And it seems like some of these aren't even attached to conventions, or maybe they're outside of conventions that are happening in that area.
Yeah, I saw Cascade Games put out a post on Facebook, and I saw some conversation between various people with Cascade Games, and I know they identified at least one, maybe a couple, as being independent from conventions. So that's interesting.
That's awesome. And another thing, I don't think they've come out and said it yet, but if you go to PAX Unplugged and you go to Galactic Qualifier event and you read the description, it seems they're getting away from double elimination format. They're now actually saying it's a 6-round Swiss tournament, and the top finisher will get the seat for Worlds.
Ooh.
So you actually will play all 6 rounds, and if you know any game that you win, I'm assuming you'll get prize tickets for winning that particular game. I guess I think that'll help with some of their the concerns of forking over $20-25 for a GQ and then dropping out of after game 2, and then having to pay more money to grind and in pods. So I don't think they've come out and said it, but it is published on their website as an event description that they are 6 rounds of Swiss. There are 3 rounds of Swiss for the pods, which is kind of basically what we've always done anyways. So something to look forward to, I think, from the GQs in that respect, that you will be able to continue to play and continue to earn prize tickets, even if you lose those first 2 games and are out. Because I know the GQ I went to up in San Francisco, the trilogy event, I lost the first 2 games. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Paid that much money to sit around doing nothing.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I've done pretty well in most of the GQs that I have participated in, but the one trilogy day that I did 0-2. And legitimately just bad dice rolling, which I hate to blame it on that, but on this particular day, that's what it was. And just so frustrating whenever you're done. You are there for that event for all 6 rounds, and then you're out after 2. So
yeah,
if they're changing that, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing with Cascade Games, and we've been hearing some news about. There's an app out there called Best Coast Pairings. It is a tournament app that helps players register for events. It helps TOs run events, do pairings, and all those things. It seems that this group has entered into an agreement with Cascade Games to use their app as the main tournament organization thing for X-Wing Open, for Star Wars Destiny Galactic Qualifiers, for L5R, Grand Kotai events at PAX Unplugged. And I imagine if it's successful, we'll probably continue to all of Cascade Games events. Interesting that I'm not. I actually need to download this app myself and check it out, see how well it runs and how easy it is to use. It's got 4.5 stars on the iTunes store, the App Store. So, I mean, it's kind of cool that. Kind of cool that a system, it's not FFG's not driving the system, obviously. Someone else is, but it seems like at least Cascade's on board with it. I'm assuming they had probably to get some buy-off to make sure it was, following the appropriate tournament rules and everything.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't have any experience with this app. I know in some of the conventions, your internet can get real spotty. So I wonder how that will. I mean, but it sounds like it's optional, so it's just handy for players.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be nice if there's, if it kind of rolls into either a tracking system or, can be expanded. And I'm sure this is their. It sounds like they've been doing this kind of stuff for other games, and they have just added these games as part of what they're doing. I have to do some more research, but this is certainly good in their favor to get involved with Cascade, and the Cascade being kind of the middle ground between those national and world level events and your local store events. So I mean, most of us will be able to be within a day's drive of a GQ at some point in time, unless you're like in the middle of the country, and then in which case you're anywhere close to Texas, who has 17 of these.
Yeah. Hey, we don't have any on the schedule that they posted.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, any.
We don't, but I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's an incomplete schedule.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it'll be at everything else. And this may just be the I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, so that's kind of been the big news there. Of course, the word is getting out that Across the Galaxy will release on November 8th. The next set here in the Star Wars Destiny world, and the last set of this block, the last set before we hit a rotation. So enjoy this last few months with those Awakenings cards now, because although I will be interested to see if a GQ starts supporting an infinite format. I mean, I think that's going to be the place that's going to have it if anybody does.
Yeah, well, I think that was the original intent, right? That on a 3-day GQ, one would be trilogy and one would be standard, and one would be infinite.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe I heard that somewhere. I don't know. It just doesn't matter yet, but that'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to not have those cards gather dust, because most likely we'll see them, especially once that rotation happens. It'll be interesting to watch the price watch and see if the prices plummet or if they hold their value.
They've been kind of steadily declining, I feel like, as it approaches, actually.
Sure. And that's become less useful too.
Yeah.
But anyways, everybody's always looking forward to some new spoilers. And there've been a lot this week. Team Covenant was blessed with 4 different spoilers from the movie Solo. Hence the reason I'm wearing my Solo shirt. The first of which was Tobias Beckett, a villain character, leader, and scoundrel. Lots of subtitles there. 11 health, 11-15 point cost. Nice kind of middle of the ground there. 2 range, 3 range for $1, 1 focus, 1 disrupt, a special, and a blank. Power action, each player gains a resource, and then the special is take a resource from an opponent. If that opponent has no resources, you gain 1 resource. He is a legendary, so kind of interesting play on resource control, which is not... We haven't seen that be prevalent in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting to see if this is I mean, it's too early to say this is a response to what happened with the Snoke era, because obviously this card was probably developed way before Snoke hit the streets. But
right, yeah, it's interesting. I like the idea of yellow having more of a kind of control aspect and more of an ability to disrupt what your opponent is doing. I feel like that doesn't always come through as strongly as you'd like. So Tobias and then Val, that we'll talk about, I like the way that they kind of interact in a different way with that. And, I don't know, they feel really roguish, like it's a unique ability.
Sure. And Val, of course, 10 health, 10-14, so she, Tobias and Val can pair together at an elite status. No cost on her die, which is nice. So 2 range, 2 indirect, 1 discard, 1 resource special, and a blank. Special is take 1 resource from an opponent. If that opponent has no resources, deal 2 damage to one of their characters. So nice kind of play on what Tobias does, but in this case being able to cause the damage. It's a little challenging that there's only 1 special side on each one, so being able to chain those in a turn would be ideal, but difficult with mono yellow. And there's nothing on the villain side yet, without maybe throwing in Snoke and a couple of focus sides to really to achieve that.
Yeah. Although you, for a little while, can pick cunning. So if you really want to go all in on the specials, then you can have a couple of cunning dice out there too, which also only have one special side, but
Well, it's more chances. That's interesting. That's a good thought. Get cunning out there and really go heavy on the resource control, and while controlling resources, being able to do a little bit of damage along the way.
Mm-hmm. Dark Saber might be pretty good at this too, because it has a nice, what is it, a 2 focus? I guess if you played it on Tobias, it would be a 3 focus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not too bad. I don't know.
There's a thought.
Mm.
Huh. No, I mean, I certainly like where they're going. I think it'll be a fun pairing. I don't think we'll see a whole lot of competitiveness out of it, but if you can really get it going early on and really take control of those resources and really choke the opponent from playing anything, I mean, we're definitely in a meta of high costed cards. So if you're able to choke the resources early on, I just don't know if these will choke it fast enough to make a difference against the Snoke vehicle thing that's really kind of prevalent at the time.
Yeah.
Kind of in synergy with these guys is Tobias Beckett's rifle. 3 resource upgrade. After you play this upgrade on Tobias Beckett, you may force an opponent to lose a resource. Some more control there. 3 range for $1, 2 disrupt, 1 resource, 2 specials in a blank. The special is deal 2 damage to an opponent's character or 3 damage instead if that opponent has no resources. Expensive at 3 resources, but with all this resource generation that these two could potentially do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's a nice combo if you have Val and Tobias out and maybe a cunning or 2, and then his rifle. When you resolve specials, you get to take a bunch of resources, and then when they're broke, do 3 damage, which is not bad.
No, and like you said, I think this all still feels a little roguish and not, I guess, reliable or steady as a strategy.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Is Tobias Beckett's rifle is unique? Well, there is no Han Solo blaster yet, huh? If we ever get a Hans DL-44, it seems like you shouldn't be able to play Hans DL-44 and Tobias Beckett's rifle at the same time.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't have 2 Vaders across the table from each other either, so just have to go with it. And last but not least, of course, the big talk when this dropped was Double Down. Matt shaking his head as we speak. A two pointed plot card that allows you to include 1 additional copy of up to 2 different cards in your deck, following other deck building restrictions. So it is a yellow neutral. You must have a yellow character on your side of the table in order to play this card, and characters' point values not exceeding 28 to allow this to fit. But the possibilities are endless in Double Down, and just the idea of having to worry about 3 of anything is frightening. And it doesn't matter what it is, and that's the nice thing about this. It's not yellow specific cards. If you have a blue character in your assortment, you could add another Ancient. You could add another Force Illusion. And 3 Sith Holocrons. I mean, you name it.
Yep. Second chance.
Oh, man.
Yep. Yeah, this plot, I don't know. I mean, we'll talk more later about things that break deck building, but I feel like you have to be really careful with anything that breaks the normal deck building rules, and I don't know, Double Down seems like it could be wild. There's just a lot of cards I don't want to see 3 out.
Yeah, no, it's true, and not knowing what the play testing structure is, and of course, anytime, it doesn't matter how many times you play test something until it gets out in the wild, and you get all these really skilled players who want to break the game. You won't spend time to figure out how to make the game broken, and then to let everyone know about it. I'm sure we'll find. I mean, I could see, Mill can get some crazy usage out of Double Down, like you said, 3 second chances, and then maybe 3 some sort of removal that's stupid. gosh, any number of things could make Double Down just incorrigible. So aside from what Team Covenant released, of course, we had the Knights of Ren. Got a couple of cards for us to look at. Two cards that play very well together. Mauler Mythel? I didn't know this guy had a name.
Yeah.
Well,
which is it's funny because I think well, actually I don't know. Somebody's going to jump in and say he's had a name for like 20 years, which is actually probable. But he's at least been named since the origin of X-Wing, because Mauler Mythel was one of the first named TIE pilots in the X-Wing game. So I was actually pretty excited to see him come to Destiny.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're seeing a lot of kind of X-Wing ideas come to Destiny. Mauler, a 9 health red villain character, 1 range, 2 modified, 1 disrupt, and a resource and a blank. After you activate this character, you may remove one of your vehicle dice showing range damage. So it doesn't have to be, it can be anything, or modified, cost it, doesn't matter. Just remove it to place that damage on a vehicle in play. Then discard that vehicle if it has damage on it equal to or more than its cost. So we finally have a vehicle killer.
Yep.
Which is interesting.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is interesting that you don't actually resolve the die, so like you said, it can be modified. You can have a resource cost that you can't afford to pay. Doesn't matter, because all you're looking at is the range symbol and the value. So there's that.
And there are so many like these kind of, I want to say, vehicle swarm decks, right? These decks that put out 5 or 6 vehicles. A lot of those vehicles are 2 or 3 cost, and Mauler already has two range sides. Not to mention that you pair that up with his TIE Fighter, the Black 2, 3 resource cost, 1 range, 2 range, 3 range for $1, 2 indirect, a disrupt, and a blank. While this die is showing range damage, increase its value by 1 if you spot Mauler. So I'm assuming as long as Mauler's on the table, then this range die is already just +1 regardless. Like it is as if it is showing that +1 side. So now all of a sudden you're rolling in 2, 3, 4, which could easily take out many vehicles showing on the other side of the table.
Yep.
This one feels very much like a meta call. And if you feel like vehicles are going to swing really hard, you can play a Mauler-based vehicle deck to kind of cripple your opponents. I don't know how much it's going to see, but I'm intrigued by the idea that they're going this route.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully we'll see. I mean, I'm sure there's more of this type of stuff either coming down the line, or maybe in the set in itself. Exciting to see this direction with some of these cards. Last but not least, of course, Fantasy Flight Games released a article today, finally bringing us home to Big Daddy Vader, who has returned in a perhaps more palatable, usable, and perhaps angry state here. A terror to behold, 15 health. 1823, so obviously we're seeing that creep here with the point values and the health. 2 melee, 3 melee, 4 melee for $1, 2 shields, 2 resources, a blank. Power action: if one or more of this character's dice were removed during the opponent's last turn this round, discard a card from your hand to roll those dice into your pool. So if both of them were removed, discard 1 card, roll both of them back in. Like, I mean, you could easy pickings, and then and they come back, and guard anything.
Yeah, I mean, they could play block, and remove all of his melee dice, and then you can pay 1 resource. Or no, not pay a resource, discard a card.
Yeah.
And roll them all back in. That's crazy.
Interesting that they're continuing this idea of discarding a card when talking about Vader, because his previous iteration, discard a card from your opponent's hand.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's just something they feel like thematically goes with Vader, or it's just they wanted to really make sure when you roll the dice back in, there is a cost on your side. And interesting to see the cost be a card and not, not resources or or anything else for that matter.
Yeah.
And 1823. So I mean, you put him with a 7-point neutral, 7-point non-unique. Even I think you mentioned earlier the regular Vader and Elite Talzin.
Yeah. Regular Vader Elite Talzin might be a thing. But you know what? Actually, what I realized later that might be more interesting is single die Vader with Bib Fortuna.
Okay.
Because if you hit the specials on his dice, which are a third of his size, they basically become Vader dice.
Huh. Okay.
Because you get to roll that one Vader die back in. So you're never going to claim the battlefield because your turn is going to take forever.
Sure.
Because you're going to roll in Vader, resolve his dice, Bib Fortuna, die back in, resolve, Bib Fortuna, back in, resolve. But, I don't know. It's interesting. It's a way to get a whole bunch of Vader dice. And if you stick with some hefty redeploy, and they kill Vader first, which I think they have to, then maybe Bib Fortuna can finish a game. Maybe. But I don't know. But also, more importantly, that yellow gives you Darksaber, which on Vader will be terrifying.
For sure. Especially, yeah. I mean, either Darksaber gets a bonus whether he's regular or elite. Just a better one if it's elite, of course.
Yep. Which, if you wanted to run him elite, there's a couple of yellow. You could do single die Bazine or single die Greedo, but I don't know. Maybe Bazine's okay. I don't know. Interesting.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we get back to, of course, Vader Raider won Worlds that first year, in a three die team. Of course, we're far away from that. The game's developed so much since then, and we're moving towards a 3-character, 3 or 4 die start, sometimes a 5 die start in a lot of instances. So we'll see if Vader's going to have a place, because he's not going to be a there's not going to be many die when the game starts with him. Vader's lightsaber also came into play. 3 resources, 1 melee, 2 modified, 3 modified, 4 modified melee, 2 shields and a blank. After you resolve this die, you may spend 1 resource to roll one of attached character's character dice into your pool. Then, if this upgrade is on Vader, deal 1 damage to a character. So you get to reroll. Yeah. You get to roll Vader's die again.
Yep.
It's monstrous.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know. But it's also interesting to see the distribution of the modified sides is very similar to what was on Maul's saber, with just those increasing of the modified sides. But primarily half of them are modified. So, I don't know.
Yeah, half are modified. Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
I still would take this. You know what I would put this in? I would put this in Boba's 7th sister.
Okay.
This would be real good with Boba.
Sure.
Special of the 3 or 4. And there's a lot of melee in that deck too, so you'll have the base damage for it, I feel like.
Interesting. And I'm sure we'll see non-thematic pairings of this card with other things. Of course, on Vader you get that ping damage every time it's activated. So that's something that heroes have kind of really enjoyed for a while. Is that ping damage, whether it be was it Ray 2, or any. Of course, the Afro decks recently have kind of discovered that for the villain side, but now blue villain's going to have a chance. A card I'm less. I think it's scary on the forefront, but because of its cost, we probably won't see much of. Vader's Fist, 5 resources to play, 3 range for $1, 3 indirect, 4 indirect for $1, 3 disrupt, and 2 shields. After you play the support, you may roll this die into your pool. With a power action, roll this die into your pool, spot Darth Vader to turn this die to any side. So, kind of nuts. But expensive.
Yeah.
And as we were talking before the show, like Vader's this deck's going to have some sort of resource generation, or else none of this stuff's going to get off. And I think that's the weakness of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, the power action is great, but I don't see putting this in any Vader deck. Like I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like if I have 5 resources in a Vader deck, I will want to Rise Again.
Sure.
More than I will want to play Vader's Fist.
Yeah.
Just because if I've invested 18 or 23 points in Vader, I can't lose him, you know?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to be paying that to play Maul Saber or Vader Saber or both. I don't know. I don't see it. So then I think you have to look at Vader's Fist as it's worth outside of a Vader deck, and it still is okay, because you get basically 2 activations of a turn, but 5 resources.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I totally get it.
I guess actually, to be fair, the first run you play this, you get to resolve the die 3 times.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, especially since you're always going to be hitting a side that's got. I mean, there's no blanks on this die,
Nope.
and even the 3 disrupt. As we tend to shy away from disrupt a lot, but 3 disrupts like crippling for your opponent. Especially if you roll it in and you're able to resolve it quickly, they can't do anything really once you get that in there.
Yep.
There were also 4 non-dice cards that were talked about. Darth Vader's Meditation Chamber, a 2-resource support location. For the villain's action, exhaust the support to heal 1 damage from a blue character and place 1 card from your discard pile onto the bottom of your deck. Spot Darth Vader to draw a card. So a little bit of mill mitigation here. And I could see this used. I mean, it's nice that Darth Vader spot a card, right? Spot Darth Vader to draw a card, which would allow you to kind of mitigate I'm discarding a card to reroll his die into the pool. But even without that, taking healing 1 damage and then and cycling a card through your discard pile.
Yeah, super good. I could even see it in a like Vader Kylo deck, like old Vader, not old Vader. Vader 2.
Right, sure.
The emo kids Vader. I could see it in that deck, just because if you play it early, you can heal, with characters. So even once one of them goes down, you still have a target for this card.
Yeah.
In a mono blue deck. So it seems good.
Seems good.
I think I paid 2 for that.
Yeah, no, sure. And it's very rarely is a card like this going to get booted off the table. I mean, you could
yeah, exactly.
Could vandalize it if you want to, but it's unlikely to see that happen here. Moving on to a couple of cards that I'm intrigued by from an art standpoint because they were inspired by the Vader Down comic series. So, resolve 1 of your dice showing melee damage for free against each of an opponent's characters. It's a 2-resource cost villain event. So, there's that.
For free.
For free, right.
So that means Vader's 4 side, you pay 2, and you do 4 damage to all of their characters. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Resolve 1 of dice. Yep. And it's very thematic. I mean, if you read this comic series, like Vader basically just massacres like hundreds of rebel soldiers in the middle of a desert field on this planet. So this kind of goes along those lines. And I think this one, in combination with Deadly Advance, a 2-resource cost event, count the number of exhausted characters your opponents have, turn up to that many of your dice to sides showing melee damage. Like these are all cards that are going against the 3 and 4 wide decks, right? These have an advantage against those decks, which we haven't seen them try to combat that yet. Yeah, and that's interesting because generally, the more characters you have, the more advantage you have. Like it's easier to flank, it's easier to do other types of things. Now you're gonna have to pay a price, especially if you're facing a blue deck that's got these cards. And Deadly Advance is a neutral, right? So your best aggro hero, mono blue decks or melee decks can make use of this card. And last but not least, I don't think we'll see a lot of this card, but for one resource, you can play Endow. Play any number of blue upgrades from your hand on one of your blue characters, paying each of their costs, then roll each of those upgrades dice into your pool. It's you have to have a lot of resources built up to make kind of like this a thing.
Yeah. Or for a little while, this pairs nicely with it binds all things.
Sure.
So that definitely softens the blow, because you pay one and maybe pay one more for a pretty big upgrade, and you get basically a free roll of it.
Sure, as long as you play it before you activate your character.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the order of play is going to be tricky to make sure Endow is effective. Yep. But I mean, if you can throw it into some sort of major resource generation deck, right? You get some sort of Snoke something, whether Snoke Thrawn or whatever it is, and then you turn those decks from vehicles into like just powerhouse upgrade decks. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't, unlike Sith Holocron, which is blue abilities, this is any blue upgrade. So you could, Snoke could go from nothing to wielding 3 lightsabers in no turn flat. Roll them all out, then roll them out again, and now all of a sudden you're at a severe disadvantage. I don't know. It's interesting, but again, lots of resources are going to have to be in play to, I think, see a lot of effect from this.
Yeah.
Anything that you're itching to try out, Matt, from this set of cards here?
I think I'm most excited about Vader's saber, honestly. I think it's just been a really long time coming to get that anyway. We've had so many other named sabers, and the fact that we haven't had, maybe the most iconic saber yet has been, disappointing. So to finally see that is really nice. Yeah. And then it's really good. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on one of those and playing that.
Sure.
I have this weird thing for when a new set drops, I almost always draw the blue legendaries and the abilities that go with them, or the other legendary cards that go with them, which is really just odd luck. So I don't know. I'm going to cross my fingers, hope I get a Vader and a Vader saber, and I'm going to give this a shot. What about you?
I mean, because for me, since I feel like we spend more time doing this type of coverage and putting these things out, I don't have the time to deck build as much as I would like. I like the idea of kind of Vader deck seems to build itself if you follow the thematics of it, and I kind of like all that. And as per the topic of the show, I'm actually really intrigued in anything that breaks deck building rules. I'm not sure. I think Double Down's kind of angry, but considering all the cards in this build, I think it's time to give villain vehicles a spin. Maybe not a Snoke variety, but I do like what Mauler does. I worry that I spend all this time teching out a Mauler deck, and then no one's playing vehicles in my era, and now all of a sudden I've got this tech in my deck that's useless. But
yeah, that's a fair point.
But who knows? We'll see. I mean, I like what I'm seeing from this set, and I think it'll be even more interesting once set 7 comes out and sets 1 through 3 rotate out from standard. And this becomes the new norm, and hopefully we'll see that these characters and cards from the Legacies block retain their usefulness and value as the game goes along. Because Awakenings didn't hold it. I mean, we did a look at all 3 sets and what cards were still in play at U.S. Nationals, and maybe 3 characters out of the entire first 3 sets made it to the table, and those were like First Order Trooper and Maz. Yep. So it's kind of a bummer to see. I'm hoping we see this. We don't see more of a creep, and we see kind of like, okay, this is now the plateau and the norm, and see more creative, deck building and card design.
Yeah, I would love to see it kind of hit that plateau, because when you compare this Vader to Sith Lord Vader, the first one, it's insane. The power creep, like for 2 points, what you get is nuts. Like an extra 4 damage side, you bump the shield and the resource up to 2, and then just a way better ability.
Right.
And 3 more health for 2 points. That's crazy.
It is nuts. No, but I love it. Where I like seeing the excitement around it. Right. I think So I think this set so far has seen more excitement around the thematics of the cards than we have before. Right. Now, will the meta deck shake out to be thematically viable? Probably not. But I think this will get more people excited about the game itself, who like the thematics, who want to build the decks that kind of make sense when you look at the cards. Like,
right.
I know that if I was a really casual player, I would like to open my boxes. I like to see my Vader, and it's like, cool, I'll build a Vader deck. Here's all these cards that go with Vader. Great. Now it's actually like useful.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we've rambled enough on about these spoilers. I know we'll be seeing some more. We've got about 2 to 3 weeks before the set's releases, November 8th, which is officially, whether it was officially announced or at least the stores have officially gotten the word about it. Here we are, and I think across Galaxy, I mean, we expect to see more spoilers from the community come out. We'll probably get at least one more article. We're kind of missing an article that's a red focused. So I imagine that'll probably drop next week, and we'll see more red cards from FFG, and so we'll see where we go from there. Hopefully, hopefully we see more exciting stuff from this set. So let's just move on. We've spent a lot of time talking about spoilers, so we're going to just dive into our show topic here, and kind of breeze. I don't want to say breeze through it quickly, but I think it's an interesting discussion worth having, given the direction that the game is going currently.
You know, Mike, I just can't seem to get the cards I need in the booster packs I bought. I'm still missing a Mother Talzin, a Darth Maul, and I need some more battle droids. That 5-wide droid deck isn't going to build itself, and I have all these extra Yodas.
Seriously, Kim, I told you, check out Armada Games. You can buy and sell Destiny cards on their website, shoparmada.com. It's just a few simple clicks and bam, you are done. I used it just the other day, and now I got 2 Maul Sabers heading my way.
Hey, what are you guys talking about? We're in the middle of a break here.
Jason, you know how you've got all those extra cards from all those booster boxes you open? Mike says you can sell them online super easy.
No way, seriously? How? I've got to make room before this next set comes out.
Jason, whether you're new to the game or a seasoned vet, Armada Games has just what you're looking for. You can buy and sell your Destiny singles all from the comfort of your living room. Pre-order the latest sets of boosters and find the droids you are looking for. You can also check out their selection of Destiny accessories. And you'll get free shipping on orders over $75. For an even better deal, be sure to use the coupon code TheChanceCube and receive 5% off your Destiny purchase. Visit their website at shoparmada.com. Armada Games. Get in here and game.
But you know what I always say. Speak softly and drive a big tank.
So we wanted to spend a little bit of time about talking about breaking the rules, right? So, there's the golden rule in Star Wars Destiny that, you follow all the rules until a card tells you to not follow the rule, right? And there are many times that a card tells you to not, like Rex's pistol, right? If he has own Rex, then you can have 2 copies of it, even though it's unique on the table. That's great. That's a gameplay breaking rule, but like the game has not tried as hard as it is with this set to break deck building rules. Right? We got the first taste, like Finn, OG Finn, right, from Awakenings was the first taste we got. We were really excited. He came out in a starter deck, which I thought was nuts because, like, let's put a card in a starter deck that breaks all the rules we're trying to teach you, right? Finn allows you to include red villain weapons and vehicles in your deck as a hero yellow character, which was kind of crazy as a concept, but because he was, he's a 13-16 with 1 range, 2 range, 1 melee. Like, no one's going to play that, right?
Yeah.
He never saw play beyond a starter deck and, beyond those first few weeks. And we wanted to make him work. We wanted this to be a thing. And it's interesting that they abandoned the idea. It seems like they either abandoned the idea or just weren't ready for it, right? Weren't ready for weren't ready to break the rules, and it took them until Way of the Forest with Bo-Katan to try it again, right? You can include yellow villain upgrades in your deck. A yellow hero character, again, allowing you to break deck building rules.
Yeah.
Why do you think Bo-Katan didn't hit it off? Is it because she's so expensive as well?
Yes. I think it's because she's so expensive, and what yellow villain upgrades are that worth taking? I mean, I guess blackmail is good, but goes in a pretty specific direction that I don't feel like Bo-Katan does.
Yeah.
Crime Lord is good, but I don't know. Are you really gonna be able to make a hero Crime Lord deck work? I mean, maybe.
I tried.
Crime Lord kind of fell out anyway,
Yeah. Well, I tried Bo-Katan and Yoda. It was a 3-die start, and then what's that blue upgrade that lets you add another die to your character? I thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
It's just you die before you get anything going.
Yeah, exactly.
I
think probably the LL30s are the best thing that she could bring to your deck, and that's not that exciting.
Right. Not worth the 20 points or the 15
not
points.
Worth the 20 points. That's the same thing with her and Finn. They're just way overcosted. And I think it goes to what you were saying. They were really hesitant to break the rules. They're kind of cautious about, what kind of combinations is this going to access that we didn't see ahead of time. And so they overcosted both of them a lot.
That's fair, and that's a lot to test too, right? It's a lot to test if you consider play testing outside of the play rules. I mean, now you got a whole nother set of. I mean, I guess what's nice about Destiny is once you pick your character teams, your card pool shrinks instantly.
Oh, yeah.
You add these types of variations in there, and now all of a sudden, your card pool changes, and now you got a whole nother kind of thing to think about, and I think we want to make these. We see these things, we get really excited by them, and then they don't become competitively viable. But here we are now. We've seen 20, 25 cards from across the galaxy. We've already seen 4 cards that break deck building rules. 3 of them in quantities and 1 in card type. The first of which is the pair of the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing. Right. Both of these cards allow you to include 4 copies in your deck. So the idea of kind of a swarm. And even the TIE Fighter lets you, look for itself, which is crazy. You get 8 resources, and you can play all 4 of them in one turn if you're lucky enough. This one we need a chess clock on the round clock every time you search in your deck and shuffling for it. I guess you'd search once if you had the resource to play all 3 of them at one time. But some jerk would make you shuffle every time. I don't know. I mean, this is not creatively. This is not really breaking the rules from a card type standpoint.
Right.
But I find it interesting that we're kind of going in this direction. That okay, so now we've got these cards. You can have more than 2, and even the X-Wing gains value based on how many you have on the table, up to 4, which is really interesting. And I think. And the X becomes that number of how many X-Wings are on the table. So, I mean, it makes Mauler look really good, right? Because he can pick these things off like nobody's business. But I'm excited about trying each of these. I think I saw somewhere where old Finn and Hera, and you can have TIE Fighters and X-Wings in your deck.
Yeah. I mean, how many points is that? Oh, you know what? Old Finn is 16. Hera is she 12?
Yeah.
So if you pair them together, that leaves you with 2 points.
You could double down.
To play. That's right, and you could play 5 of each.
Yeah.
There's 10 cards of your deck done.
Easy deck building right there. That's actually really interesting. What if that would actually would that actually be viable? I don't know. I'll have to see what's left after you do all that.
Yeah.
That's funny. I don't know if there's a whole bunch to say about this, but it definitely shows a direction that the game that Jeremy's willing to, because if I'm not mistaken, I know Lucas was Gungans was the last thing I added to the games. He was really excited about them. So this is really Jeremy's first set that he's lead designed. He was the lead designer on from the get-go. And we're seeing him bring in some things to the game that, I mean, Legacy's block is a very transitional period. And seeing these types of things come in, very interesting. And then, of course, Double Down. We talked a little bit about this earlier because it is one of the recently spoiled cards. But I think the community is abuzz on what Double Down will do for the game, and I think a lot of people are not happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's so kind of like we were just talking about is with Finn and Bo, it was such a like measured approach to breaking the rules. Like very cautious. We're going to overcost these characters a little bit because we're not sure what they're going to do. And Double Down seems to kind of lean in the opposite direction. Like 2 points. Yeah, that seems good enough to include 3 hyperspace jumps or 3-second chances or 3 ancient lightsabers or, a bunch of stuff. 3 easy pickings even. I mean, even just including a card like easy pickings 3 times is really good. So it's, I don't know. It is interesting that they leaned from very, very measured to almost cavalier, it feels like.
And they have to know, right? I mean, they know that these older cards are going to be a problem, right? They know that someone's going to do Double Down and throw 3-second chances in a deck. So you wonder, from a design standpoint, are they looking forward with this card and not backwards? Are they saying, okay, we got one set where it's going to be chaos, but by the time we get to Worlds, it won't matter because Worlds will most likely not have to deal with anything from the Awakenings block. And then really, what are the evil cards at that point? Easy pickings, Beguile, maybe. I mean, what are those new cards that are just stupid? We'll see. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Double Down's going to do. But you also have to have a solid 28-point character pairing.
Exactly, and I think that's the catch with Double Down. And I have to be honest, I haven't really poured through the available character pairings yet to figure out, who can make the best use of this. But I feel like 28-point character pairings are not super common. I mean, you're going to have to try to make it work.
Right.
So
for sure,
that might be hopeful.
But last but not least, Kira, I think, is probably. I mean, we thought Bo was going to be cool, and then no one ever used her. So is this another instance where Kira, who is a yellow neutral character, who allows you to include both yellow hero and yellow villain events in your deck, oddly positioned to fit well with Han from a point standpoint when you include the -1 plot card that allows you to, your neutral characters only. But then Kira allows you to bring in both yellow hero and yellow villain events. And I think that's the key, right? Because most decks these days are over 50% events. And that really is the cream of consistency and control in your decks is these events. So being able to get easy pickings and I don't know. I'm trying to think of those nasty yellow events that are on the villain side. It's really actually I think villains are going to benefit more from this to get access to those hero yellow events that are pretty gnarly. But I think it'll go both ways. And then the idea, which we posed this week as a question, is does the all neutral team stand a chance now with this type of wording? That's a lot of thoughts. I'll let you talk now.
Yeah. Kira's interesting. I think that she will get a lot more traction than Bo because, like I said earlier, yellow villain weapons weren't that exciting, but yellow hero and villain events are very exciting. So easy pickings. He doesn't like you. Maybe one of the best cards in the game. Bait and switch. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to bait and switch in a hero deck,
Sure.
So you open up some pretty interesting combinations. So that's a lot more exciting. And then, she's a lot cheaper. She's just going to be easier to pair. Poor Bo had a difficult time getting paired up. I don't think Kira's gonna struggle with that. I saw somebody suggest a Kira Anakin deck,
Okay.
just so that Anakin can use his both halves of his ability outside
Sure.
of draft.
That's fair.
Maybe. I don't think there's
mean,
a lot to that, but it's interesting.
It's
You
it's
can
hard. Yeah,
also-
it's hard to see
you
a
can
multi damaged
Yeah.
type damage deck actually work.
Yep.
But she does go well with Han, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
someone's gonna try. Someone's gonna try all neutral. I mean, I wanted to build my Jawa deck, and actually I did, and then realized it was awful. Can you imagine? But you get 5 Jawas and you put that plot out there, and then they all now have +1 health.
Yeah.
But you still have nothing but neutral events and upgrades to deal with.
I saw somebody suggest Kira with 3 Jawas. So
Okay.
single die Kira.
So you get
and
access
3
to
Jawas.
you get access to every yellow event in the game.
Yep.
And then all gray neutrals.
And yellow neutrals.
Yeah.
Which isn't great, but
Yeah. And I think it's
mean-
going to be we're going to have to start looking at what are those neutral events that can really make a difference, especially if you pair her up with a different color, right? She's yellow, but you pair her up with a blue. Are there blue neutrals that will turn the tide, or are good enough?
yeah.
I mean, overconfidence is neutral. There's some good stuff in there that whether it's blue or red, I mean, who knows? And we don't see a whole lot of red played these days, especially on the event side. But I think this opens up a new realm of possibilities, and I hope to see this one come into play. But what do you think? So we've 2 cards up and 5 sets in, 2 cards that break the rules, and now we've only seen a fifth of this set, and we have 4 cards that break the rules. Are there going to be more? And do we think this is going to be a trend that's? I mean, I think I'm with you. I think this is going to be a hard one to sustain, and maybe we see more. We'll have to see more reactionary stuff from them in the Holocron updates when things get kind of nutso.
Yeah. I think, and I don't want to sound overly skeptical, but I feel like it's very, very, very difficult to adequately playtest cards that break the rules. And when you're packing a bunch of them into a new set, it just, for me, there's a bunch of red flags like, what escaped their playtesting? Because I feel like every time a new set drops, something escaped their playtesting. There's
Sure.
something they didn't see. That's inevitable. That's not, that there's no, I don't mean that critically, like, it's impossible for a small cohort of playtesters to find every combination, no matter how good they are. So something always gets by them. And I feel like the number of things that might slip through the cracks increases exponentially when you have a bunch of cards that break the rules. So I'm a little bit concerned about them. But, like you said, before this, we saw 2 and nobody ever played them. So it's possible that we get all paranoid right now about what the state of the game is going to be like with these cards, and then it turns out that they're just in the binder. But I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting.
It is. We may have to revisit the subject once the whole set comes out and see exactly where this goes. But this week, we did ask over in the Facebook world if you thought neutral character teams were going to be a meta thing. So let's go and read some of your answers.
There can be no mistakes this time.
So we did have a little bit of better participation this week on our question over the Facebook page. We asked, do you think an all-neutral team will make a splash in the next meta? And Kira Han, I mean, that seems to be the exciting pair, right? That's the one that has the most versatility, because you're going to get access to those yellow villain and hero events in an all-neutral setting. I don't know, Marshall Severin isn't sold, but is assuming that once we see more spoilers or, the more sets progress, that maybe it'll become more of a thing. I think solo thematically lended itself to that. It'd be interesting to see thematically if they can go in a different direction and have a bigger base of neutral characters. I know. Someone said Anakin Kira, and you mentioned that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe that's where I saw it actually.
Don
Shout
Reader.
out to Don Reader. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I think Kira Han may be the only thing we see initially that's serious.
Mm-hmm.
That someone tries to make a serious build off of, and unless you do want to try a Jawa situation, or look at those rival cards, right? Does Lobot or name of the yellow one in Rivals?
Oh no,
I know, just blanked.
I almost always play her in draft too.
Ketsu.
Yes.
Ketsu. Ketsu or Anakin. All right, those are kind of our big neutral players right now. Hondo is another neutral character out there that could make some use out of this pairing. I don't know if you can find something better than Yoda Hondo, but maybe the extra health would be valuable. Who knows? What do you think? You think we're gonna see some all neutral teams, or you think that negative point plot's gonna get some dust like all these other things that sound good when they first started?
I think some people will try it, especially in 3 wide lists, because you're adding 3 health. So, is New Han 11 at 1 die?
Yeah, I think so.
11 points.
11.
So there's some opportunities there, pairing him with, I don't know who Lobot and not Ketsu, but I guess you'd almost have to go Anakin. I don't know. Right now, I don't think we'll see a whole lot, just because the neutral character options are so limited, unless there are more neutral characters in the set that we don't know about. But I think there's some evidence that they're trying to, again, kind of take a measured approach to this. So I think they're intentionally not releasing that many neutral characters. Because I have to imagine it is very hard to play test a new neutral character. And, we saw Lando is hero, despite his more neutral status in the film. Tobias, okay, so Tobias I can buy him as a villain, that's fine. But I didn't think there was anything particularly villainous about Val.
Sure.
Not more so than Han in the movie, and she's a villain in this. So I think they're kind of intentionally leaning that way. But I don't know. I will try Kira Han for sure.
Right? Sure.
I think it'll just be fun. Just as a thematic deck, I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's that'd probably be the best chance we got to see it. I was also I know there's been some kind of discussion on drafting that plot.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started.
But are you going to be able to fill out your deck with viable? Oh wait, it doesn't. Your deck doesn't follow deck building rules.
No. When you draft that plot, so I would. If I opened that in my first set of packs, I would automatically draft it. Unless I drew just an impossibly good character, like a Mando Super Commando. I would take Mando Super Commando over this, but otherwise, I'm going to take that plot every time. Because as soon as you take that plot, your character pairings are done. You have Ketsu, Lobot, Anakin. It's a fine theme for draft. You get +3 health for it, and they all fit. And now all you have to worry about is drafting upgrades and supports for them, which, oh, by the way, can be anything.
Right.
Because you already know out of the gate that you're going Rainbow. And that just seems like an insane advantage for draft.
Sure.
Because, a lot of draft is gambling. Like, I'm going to take this, and I hope that I'm going to get to play a yellow character. Like, I have to make that work because because Darksaber is too good to pass up, right?
Sure, yeah.
But when from your first draft, I can pick anything and it's going to fit my team, that just seems incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I would actually like to see that card banned in draft, to be honest. But
well, maybe we'll have to have another rival set just come out just because this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
If anybody drafts the plot, you now have to swap it out with this card that is now provided.
Right.
It's awful. Anyways, So a lot going on. I think we're finally, the hype train is on an incline. Going to be lots to talk about over the next few months as we get into regional season. Thank you all for your patience as we dealt with some technical issues tonight. Thank you, Matt, for filling in. And then, as we made the jump without Mike, who I'm sure is still yelling at his computer because we haven't seen him yet or heard from him. So we'll go check on him. If you're listening to the show either on YouTube or podcasting, thank you so much. Feel free to check us out live Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern, and you figure out your own time zone out of that one. Over at the Twitch, everyone head over to our Facebook page. This week we are asking, with what we've seen from across the galaxy thus far, what are your thoughts about the vehicle metagame going into the next sets? With that being said, everyone, thank you and have a great week.
This has been The Chance Cube, a Star Wars Destiny podcast, a non-profit organization dedicated to building community through gaming. Visit our website for all things Star Wars Destiny, including our price watch, meta tracker, and latest articles from the Chance Cube family. Find our latest videos on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit us at patreon.com/thechancecube. Your patronage allows us to grow this program and help us give back to the gaming community by sponsoring events, giveaways, and supporting our own community building initiatives. This is Mike Hill, the voice of the Chance Cube. Thanks for listening. The Chance Cube is not affiliated with Fantasy Flight Games, Lucasfilms, or the Walt Disney Company.